What a great question. It says, when looking for stocks to purchase, is it safer if it's low institutional ownership? Is institutional ownership a plus or a minus when evaluating companies, right? So think about it. If institutional ownership is high, what does that really mean? It means everybody's in it, everybody wants to be in it. It looks like a good company at that point. Um, I know there's people out there that tell you BlackRock, Vanguard, they own everything. They're the bad guys of the world, and that's all nonsense. It's all garbage. It's elementary, really. The reason why they own everything is because their investors, they have own institutional investors, own a lot of companies. So what do? They prop up their own institutional investors, companies that they're invested in. It's a way of protecting yourself, and they played the game and they figured it out. But everybody's mimicking the same thing: State Street, Vanguard, BlackRock, all that. But they don't have direct influence on companies. So when you look at institutional ownership, and it can be high, which is great, but you want to know who they are. Like if it's Berkshire Hathaway, you're going to be like, okay, cool. They back it, they understand it, but they stay out of the way. They're not activist investors. There's a big difference here. When you see activist investors are the institutional holders, then you're good. Then you're good. Then you're like, you know what, maybe these guys want to make it great and they want to look for a play, like venture capitalists. Great. What you need to look for is a vulture capitalism. You want to look for private equity. If there's private equity, the vulture capitalists of this world, the distressed credit investors, let's say they gave a bond to an investment, right? They gave a bond. Private equity firms don't own companies. Like, I just want people to know that. Like, when they're in it and they're giving out money, they don't own securities. They're not in the securities business. They're in the bond business. They loan out credit. You have to look at, like, I would tell you there's three that come to mind: Macellum, Ancura, and Legion Partners. Maybe even Antera, but I think Antera shut down their doors. But when you see companies like this, where they're distressed credit, where they're activist investors, but yet they go in and they bankrupt companies, you got to know what's coming. You have to see it like come from a mile away. So just be aware. Cerberus Capital, if you see them in your stuff, run. It's Dan Quayle and the boys. There's a lot of people out there that know which private equity or which venture capitalists are good for your company and which ones are not. There's people out there that actively make money in bankruptcy and stripping assets, and they make money in the logistics and selling off portions of it. So absolutely be careful. If you ever really want to know, come watch me on YouTube and I'll explain whatever. If you ever have a question, ask it specifically. Like, go in there and go like, hey, should I be buying Foot Locker? And I'll be like, no. I made that video 3 years ago when Jim Cramer said nobody short game Foot Locker. And I'm like, oh, no, you need to be careful, because what does Foot Locker do? Foot Locker has KKR on the board of directors. Foot Locker was making $8 billion in revenue. Well, they were selling $8 billion worth of revenue and making $1 billion take home. Like, literally take home $1 billion. It's a great company. They lost $300 million last year, and they just sold to Dick's for $2.6 billion. And their assets are worth more than the price they just sold for. But that's a setup. That's the whole thing. Dick's, Amazon, other big box retail companies are winning because they're supposed to win. Private equity is backing those big investments. That's it. So they're going to put their money over here with the big investments, and they're going to kill all the categories to feed those big investments and make them bigger. That's why Amazon's so massive. That's why other retail stores are so massive. Dick's is one of them, right? Sports Authority went over there. Now you have this Foot Locker deal going. Everybody ends up over there. So Golfsmith goes bankrupt, and then boom, there you go. Dick's buys out them too. But who's on the board of directors at Golfsmith? That's what you got to ask yourself. Who's on the board of directors at Foot Locker? I know who they are. You should know too. You've been educated. Peace.